This has been a great year for grass growth, and we've harvested quite a bit, but there's a lot more to go. This year we've also had some equipment failures and frustration. That started all of 100 feet in, and I've already blown out the pitman arm. And now after all that, when reassembling this, bearing is falling apart. Okay, it's the next morning. I had a couple of replacement bearings, but as it turns out, they were the wrong inside diameter. And getting replacement bearings will take a week. So we're descending to some desperate measures. I've got a part sickle in the back and I pulled the pitman arm off of it. It is a trashy old one. It's welded up steel, but I think I'm comfortable running it on these 2 fields just to get this done. It's about 1 inch shorter than the other one, which means I have to retime the knives. The knives are supposed to stop at the end of each stroke, centered under the rock guards. But in this case, it's exactly opposite. And that's not a quick, easy job to do. We were out here till 10 o'clock last night getting the pitman off the old sickle and ready for this one. And now I'm out here rushing before work because I know it's going to be really hot this afternoon. It's 102 degrees. It is so hot that for the first time in years, I'm wearing shorts. But we're not going to get that on camera. And the lift link broke, so back to the part sickle. And now the mount that attaches the tractor to the sickle has broken. This is the backup, and I can't tell you what a big deal this change is. Not just because switching meant a huge change out of the whole hitch system, but mainly because it's the first time I've really used it. And it is making a terrible racket. Now that could be because I'm about to break something, or because I'm sitting 6 feet closer to this pull-off unit than I used to be. And another break, I did not expect this to be the problem. My metal pitman broke. Let's go weld that back together. A U-joint blowout on the hay rake, 2 sling failures, a raker bar break, and then my mom fell off the hay wagon and ended up with a minor fracture on one of her vertebrae. So in the midst of all this, we asked our neighbors for help, and thankfully they stepped in to bail us out. While we're really proud of our older equipment, we're excited to try out some of these different methods. While we're at it, this gives us a chance to compare to our loose process. I had hoped we might be able to haul this vintage baler behind my Farmall, but the horsepower rating is multiple times what my tractors can output. So David's going to bring over his tractor and his baler and get this finished up for us. The engineering in this is brilliant. Hay travels from pickup teeth to an auger which feeds a fork, forcing and folding the hay into the chamber. There it is compacted by the plunger, which also cuts the hay cleanly along one side. A huge flywheel evens out the power needed from the tractor. As the plunger moves the hay out the chute, it advances a mechanical counter, which triggers huge needles that pack the bale and help tie the twine with these amazing little knotters. The weight of the bale is adjustable, controlled by how tightly these paddles resist the bale pushing through the chute. No electronics, just pure mechanical brilliance. Now we're using all the tools we've got, including this yard glider, to help get the hay centralized, and we're using the platform on the back of the Ford to help lift hay up to the wagon for me, but we still don't have the right tools. And I admit it, hay bales would be quite a lot easier if we did. But even so, I've been a little bit surprised at how slow and how much work it is to pick up the hay. So let's do a quick comparison. We'll start the clock with both of them in the same field, going the same distance to the barn, pulling in 1 wagon load. Time to get the hay from the row into the barn. With loose hay, 1 very full wagon load is about 900 pounds. This right here is 2,600 pounds. In the interest of being fair in this comparison, we're not going to pull in a full wagon load of baled hay. We'll just do a light load. When it starts to get hard to lift them up high and really slows us down, we'll call it there. Secondly, I'm not including setup time or time resolving broken down issues. We had a lot of broken shear pins and clogging on the baler. We've had sling issues this year. You never really know what's going to come up. Hey Siri, start stopwatch. know it seems like this should be an easy runaway for the baler. But remember, the baling is an entire extra step. This I'm loading onto the wagon while I pick up out of the row. Right now we are 7 minutes in, and I've loaded probably about 350 pounds of hay. And it was easy. Yep, you saw that right. A load of loose hay was faster than a load of bales. In fact, I was so exhausted stacking bales in the barn that I didn't take much video of it. And if I were dishonest, I'd stop there, but the bale load was much bigger. This means time savings across the board. For example, even though it's just an 8-minute drive in either case from the field to the barn, the bale was carrying twice as much as the loose, and so it was actually half the time. Here's what the data looks like when we calculate how many minutes it takes per activity per 100 pounds of hay. And this is top of the line 1930s loose equipment compared to no bale handling equipment. So remapping that cumulative graph based on time per 100 pounds, by the time the wagon is loaded, loose is already behind. Ultimately, they were somewhat close. But you can see that if the unloading were flatlined with some decent basic equipment, it's really no wonder why the world switched over to bales. But let's also be realistic. There are other huge advantages to hay bales as well. Notably, they're transportable, and they're gonna keep well without taking a lot of space. We were able to share 30 of these bales that, even as a backup storage, we probably don't have a need for. Whereas when we've got extra loose hay, there's nothing we can do with it. The kind of work is really different. Maybe loose hay is a little bit like jogging for exercise. It takes a long time to get there, but it's not especially strenuous. Whereas dealing with bales is like weightlifting at the gym. And if you want to be done today, you gotta lift as many as you can, as fast as you can, with weights that like to scratch you and stab you and fall apart on you. Having the right tools, though pricey, could really change this equation. A hay elevator, those lifting racks. We really enjoyed this different challenge this year. And there's no question that had we not been literally bailed out by the neighbors, there's no way we would have gotten this field done. So does this mean we're changing over to bales? Still no. Our basic property size is about right for the loose, and we still enjoy it. It does highlight that our efforts are more focused toward hobby farming than production. And it is a lot less to maintain with a lot less capital required. Overall, we're happy to continue using this farm in the way it's been used for so long. We've learned a lot over the last couple years working our mid-century hobby farm.
We've grown, and so has our herd and flock.
But we still try to affordably increase our self-reliance while ensuring we and the kids are having fun.
Every day we find there is still more to learn.
So subscribe to join us on the journey.